We're here with James W. Johnson, correct?
Correct.
Give me your um, rank, squadron, group,
Then or now?
then.
I was a first lieutenant when I left it. I was in the 351st, and I was a pilot, first pilot, aircraft commander. And what else was it?
With 100th Bomb Group, and you came overseas, what, March of '45, correct?
That's correct.
Where were you training before that point? Where were you stationed before that point of crew training and everything?
Crew training was in Ardmore, Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
The base B-17 training was at Columbus, Ohio,
Really? We're in
Yeah.
Columbus.
at Lockburn. And from there, we went to Ardmore, where we picked up the crew.
Okay. So
And-
is that the first time you met your enlisted men? Or
Yes.
what about your officers that were on the
Uh,
crew? Your bombardier, navigator,
Same thing.
all of them down there?
Yeah.
So
I went to Ardmore as an individual and left as a full crew. And we went from there to Lincoln, Nebraska. And I was briefed and all set to take an airplane across.
Mhm.
And it along about that time is when the women ferry command was being formed or whatever. So they took our airplane and gave it to them and sent us by boat. The USS Mariposa.
how long did it take you to get there?
God, I don't know, it was forever. Well, the Mariposa had been used was in fact a cruise liner among the islands in Hawaii. And they converted it, and we were in a stateroom for two people with a private bath, the whole 9 yards. The only thing was we had 14 people in there. And the water that ran in the bathroom was salt water. So, and there was no saltwater soap. So it got kind of ripe in there before we got to England. But
But you were in there with officers and your enlisted men somewhere else?
yeah, they were down in the hold. It took me quite a while to find them, as a matter of fact. But I'd go down whenever I could and check on them and see if they were okay.
When
That
you-
was about all I could do.
So you met your crew for the first time. When you got to know them, tell me about your crew. Tell me about the guys, what you remember about them. Were there things that stuck out to you upon meeting them?
No, there was nothing unusual or particularly rememberable, if that's a word.
Who was your closest friend on the crew?
My navigator, Carpenter. And of course, next was my co-pilot, Bean, Ariel Bean. The crew were great. They responded well. They did well. They did their job well. My engineer was top notch. Radio operator.
It would have been Zimmerman, right?
Yes,
The Teptord
Leroy
engine.
Zimmerman.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then my radio operator and my ball turret gunner.
Any nicknames for any of the guys? Did they ever have any nicknames that they went by? Was there?
No,
Okay.
not to my knowledge. Carpenter, of course, was Carp,
Yeah.
or Dad. He was 27. We were all youngsters. I was 20. And, but there was nothing particularly memorable or heroic about any of them.
When you got off the boat in England, what was your point of disembarkation?
That's a question I've debated with myself a lot. I think it was a place called Stone, England. And I can remember that they gave us blankets And that was where we were, from there, assigned to the various groups.
How long were you there from the time that they put you in Stone? Because that's a combat crew replacement center.
Yeah.
How long were you there before you got called down to the 100th?
I don't know, maybe 3 days, not very long, but maybe 2 or 3 days.
Now, did you heard any rumors about the 100th
yeah.
prior to?
Oh, yeah.
What did you heard?
As soon as I got the assignment, everybody had heard about the 100th. And we got everything from blessed to razzed to kidded.
What were they? Give us some of the comments. Do you remember any of them?
Well, they say you better say your prayers, you haven't got long. References to the bloody 100th. That's where I first heard the comment, bloody 100th. Didn't worry me too much because I figured it would happen to everybody else and not to me. Of course, they were thinking the same thing, but I didn't know that or care at the time. Plus, at that age, things like that don't have the impact that they would now.
No, correct.
You know, if I was told that I was stepping into what was potentially a dangerous situation, I'd be a lot more strung out than I was then, because literally it was going to happen to everybody else, not to me.
Well, there had to be some kind of adrenaline, some kind of, not mystique, but excitement to a certain degree because it's a whole new experience.
Well, and it was going to be home base.
Yeah.
And that was a relief in its own way, because all along the stream you knew you were temporary.
Temporary.
But once you got to your bomb group, you knew you were essentially home.
When you got to the bomb group, they took you down probably by truck, most likely.
Yes, from the train.
When you arrived, where was the first place you reported? When did you know what squadron you'd be assigned to before you hit the base? Or once you got to the base, they assigned you at that point?
Yeah, once we got to the base,
Okay.
we were assigned. How long that took, when it was, well, I guess they had pre-done it because I can't remember any sort of a waiting time.
Did you meet an operations officer there? Did you meet the group CO or the squadron CO?
We didn't meet the CO at the
Okay.
time. If I'm not mistaken, Harry Kruger was operations officer at the time. He was commander later.
Yes.
How long it took, I don't remember.
When they assigned you to the 351st, when you walked into the hut, was there a lot of crew? How many other crews were in your hut, and were any of the bunks empty when you walked in, besides the 4 that would be there for your officers?
There were only 3 of us.
There are 3 of you?
They had already
That's right, they'd taken off the
bombardier.
Okay.
I remember we were in half a Quonset. We walked in the end door, and there was a wall, and half the Quonset was ours, and the other half was another crew. But
Do you remember the crew? The guys that were on the other?
no,
Okay.
because there were some bunks in there that were occupied, but they didn't stay there very long. What happened to them, I don't really know. But that was the first place we went, and after we got there, I don't remember the names or the crew status of. I think there were 2 people in there, but I don't remember the crew status of what they. But they weren't there long.
Did they finish or did they get shot down?
I don't know that.
You don't?
Well, wait a minute. One of the guys had a jacket, a night jacket, that had a fancy lining.
Red?
probably. I don't really remember.
Silk, was it silk lining?
Or satin.
Satin, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And he joked with the other guy. They were apparently on a different crew. That's the best I can
Okay.
remember. And he joked with the other guy that if he got shot down, he could have the jacket. And then we were still flying practice missions, I think. I'm not sure about that. But anyway, the guy with the red satin jacket did get shot down, and the other guy would not accept the jacket. He just shunned it, and it shocked him, it hurt him, and
He was his friend.
yeah. And that's I don't know what happened to him. All of that is sort of vague, sort of second guessing, but it's like I told Mark last night, when you deal with antiques, one of the first things to go is memory. One of many things to go, but I really don't have much of a memory of that episode, so I don't know how reliable it is.
Okay, you got there on March 3rd, 1945.
Yes.
From that point,
Third or fourth?
I'm looking at least my records show March 4th,
Okay,
that you joined the 100th. You fly your first mission on the 18th
yes,
of March.
I guess.
And you're
I
doing.
flew a couple of practice
That's what I was going
missions.
to say. That's usually the orientation
Yeah.
time is about 10 days to 14 days.
Yeah.
Was the orientation practice missions to
Yeah.
get acclimated to.
And then my first mission, I flew with another aircraft commander. I flew as co-pilot with my crew, or on his crew. And then the next mission I had a fellow named Hughes, captain. At the
Robert
time,
Hughes.
I think, but his name was Hughes. And we went to Berlin. And I flew as pilot, he was co-pilot with my crew. And then from then on, we were on our own.
Well, here's an interesting thing. So you flew another mission before that Berlin mission, correct?
Yes,
Do you know what that mission was and the date of it? Knew I was going to ask him a good one, didn't you?
no.
Because
Plowing?
I do.
Was
Because
it
I do have
plowing?
carpenters. I have carpenters thing
Yeah,
listing, but carpenters on the crew.
yeah.
You're the pilot. You flew with another crew to get oriented to combat.
Was it plowing?
It may be. I'm just trying to. I'm asking you because I don't know. But you just made a comment about flying a mission beforehand, and that is correct. They would take a pilot up beforehand to fly
Yeah.
another crew to
And you
get.
say Carp wasn't with me?
Yeah.
Okay,
The first mission I have for Carpenter's missions, which I got in 2001. His first mission is Berlin 3/18/45, which is
okay.
correct for him. But you're telling me you flew one more before that point with somebody else.
Yes, I did. I did.
Pluen could be correct. It's just a matter of who'd you fly with that day. Do you remember who that pilot was?
No. No.
But you're saying Robert Hughes flew on, or a Captain Hughes flew with you on the Berlin mission.
Well, that's where I've erased that part. I may have flown with him on that first mission.
Now let's take a look in this thing.
Yeah.
So that's when your very first mission, Lieutenant Hughes,
Yeah.
was flying. Very first mission, you have a pilot with experience in combat
Yeah.
flying with you to basically walk you through the very first mission.
Exactly right.
So
Me and the crew.
you and the crew. Did you now? Let's go back one. Did you fly that one extra mission before that with somebody else, or was that 18th mission your first mission of combat?
I think it was my first one.
That's going to be first thing in combat. So Tom Hughes is flying pilot. You're flying co-pilot.
That's it.
Okay. That'd be right. Because he flies it. In fact, yeah, your co-pilot doesn't go. You're flying right seat.
That's correct. Yes.
Did you fly right seat on that
Yes,
day?
I did.
Okay. And then he did. Okay. That's perfect. Just little tidbits I wanted to find out.
Yeah.
So, go into that. Let me get back to this person.
Really working out.
I'm trying to give him a little workout here.
Yeah, you did a
So,
pretty good job.
so that's your first, so you're sitting in there,
Right.
you're going to that first mission, you're getting called up. You're gonna go in there, charge of quarters comes in. What time did he wake you up that day?
I don't have any idea.
Do you remember when he rapped on that door? Came in, said, "You flying today?"
I can remember it happening, but which mission was?
Well,
They were
that's
all-
the
they were
first
all
one.
alike. They were
Yeah,
all
but
alike.
that first mission, there's nothing like that first mission.
Amen to that.
So, what do you remember about that first mission to Berlin?
It's a story I don't like to tell, but as I
that's-
recall, it was pretty hairy, and I passed gas once, and I thought I'd done more than that, and it scared me, but that was about as bad as it got. The thing I remember the most is I flew the 13th mission 3 different times, 3 or 4 different times, because I had to fly Beans 13th mission, and my cruise 13th mission, and I guess that was it. And then my 13th mission.
Why were they all off different?
Well, because initially we flew with different people.
Okay.
I flew without my co-pilot on one mission, without my navigator. How did that happen? I don't remember.
Actually, somebody asked me what the plane was for Super Goose, and I actually know what plane Super Goose was.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cool. I didn't get it until late. I think I only had it for 8 or 9 missions.
I have what I have is 339424 is what I have for,
Does
at
it?
least because that's the plane you flew like your last 4 missions, 2 of them on Chowhounds,
Yeah.
and 2 of them being to, one was Royan, and then you took it also, actually the last mission, Orienberg.
Yes, I remember that.
But you'd also flown Argyle Sail, You Can't Lose, The Latest Rumor.
Yeah.
You'd flown a lot of different planes
Yeah.
up to
yeah.
that point.
But
What was your worst mission? What was the mission that you went into and you go, forget Berlin where you almost soiled your pants. What was the one that you go, I'm not coming out of this one. This is getting a little bit
Well, the
tight.
scariest one, we went in, I don't remember which one, but I remember we turned off the IP and Bombay doors were open. We were ready to go. I was flying second echelon down. And 4 airplanes around me, ME-262s jumped us. And I don't remember where it was. I'm wanting to remember it was Berlin, but I can't swear to that. But 4 ME-262s jumped us, and they hit the lead, his left wingman, the guy on my left, the left wing of my lead, and the guy below me. They got 4 of us, and that sort of split the squadron. And I was sort of left hanging out there by myself. Bombay doors were open, the leads were gone, my bombardier, he was gone. And then out of the corner of my eye, I saw this airplane coming into me, and I jerked back on the wheel to avoid him. Then it occurred to me that if I stayed like this, I'm going to stall. So I had to come back down, and when I did, he was gone. I don't know where he went. But now I'm left with trying to find a way to drop my bombs. So I found a squadron, and I tagged under them. They apparently weren't scared of me, or maybe they didn't. I can't believe they didn't see me. But I tagged in under them to get to drop on their smoke.
Mhm.
and I got my bombs away, and then,
Do you remember the group? Did you join another group at that point, or was it still within the 100th?
I can't answer that.
Okay.
I just saw a squadron that wasn't at the target
Attacked.
yet, and so I added power and caught up with them, and got there just in time to drop on their smoke, and that was the best I felt I could do. And then I don't know what the hell I did then. I think we just branched off and went home.
What was it like though you're sitting there and all of a sudden you're in the, not the comfort zone, but you're in that protective shield of a formation.
What, when
And
I
then-
joined up?
No, not there, but when you're going in, before the 262s attack, you're in a position where you're pretty insulated to a degree.
Yes, yes,
And then these 262s come in.
Yeah.
They've got to come in fast.
they did. They went right through us.
And they're chopping up all these planes in front of you. And you're seeing that.
Yeah.
What's going through your mind when you're seeing, I mean, they're coming at you fast. I mean, now you can take a look at it at that point. What's going through your mind when you're seeing them
Well,
coming in?
my first thought was, could I be next? Are there more of them? But then, pretty soon, very quickly, the impact hit me that, hey, I got a damn bomb load that I got to do something with, and I'm all by myself. I don't have a bombardier. What the hell am I going to do? So there was a bunch of sort of hurry up and think the problem out.
Yeah, because you had a toggler at that point, and
Yes.
he's supposed to toggle on the lead
Yeah.
bombardier.
He
and-
toggles on the smoke,
Yeah.
and he had none to toggle on, so what the hell are we gonna do? And I just tagged along until I found this other squadron, and where they came from, well, yeah, I know where they came from,
Mhm.
but I tagged on to them enough to drop on their smoke bombs. Or drop when they did, he
Mhm.
did. But
So
we-
did you come back with them after you dropped bombs? Did
No,
you stay on them, or?
Well, I stayed on them to the rally point at least. And then I really don't know. It's all vague at that point. I was sort of relieved that I got through the release. And I can't remember anything better than that.
I think your Berlin mission is, your very first mission, I believe, is that 262's coming in. I think that's when they rolled through. It might have been a little bit later in there, but,
It might have been. Berlin could have been it.
because I know we had one where the tail of the plane was chopped right off.
Yeah, well,
262 literally just blew the tail right off the plane.
yeah. And then I'm wanting to say that the lead got hit, and then his wingman. No, that was a different mission, I guess. I had one mission where the wingman of my lead. No, that couldn't be right. I remember flying, and I was in formation, and I could look across his fuselage at the star on the other wing. And suddenly, right in the middle of that star, a hole appeared with a ring. It was burning around the edges. And he started off, and I started with him. My co-pilot, I was just mesmerized, I guess. And my co-pilot caught it and grabbed the controls from me, and we went back. But as I recall, we stayed in formation with that one. Our lead, we had smoke on that drop.
And the other guy just peeled out of formation
Yeah.
with the fire on.
Yeah.
You were also on the mission to Buchen when the Germans were actually using kamikaze tactics, ramming the planes.
We heard that, but I never saw
You
any
didn't see it?
evidence. I never saw any evidence of it.
Because they had the one plane, that easy going with the 100th, that got hit that day.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was, they were behind you or in front of you or one of the other squadrons.
I didn't see it. It happened.
How tough was it going in there after the first few missions? Because the first time you're going in, there's a certain excitement of it. There's a greenness of it going in there.
Well,
When did you see that When was that first moment where you're going, I could actually get killed doing this?
You know, to tell you the truth, I don't think that ever occurred to me.
Really?
I got scared a few times, but I don't remember ever feeling like it was my day, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does.
I think that might back up, Jim, to your military, your
What?
attitude when you in military school.
Oh.
And he has said many times that the training he got there affected his thinking.
How he dealt with
How he dealt with
in
problems.
pressure situations.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah,
Well, you had 9 other men under your command.
yeah.
How did that, the weight of command in those planes
You know.
really rested on one person's shoulders?
Somehow I was ready for it. And again, I have to go back to my high school. When I went to I was raised by my mother, so she knew I needed a male influence, and so she sent me to military school. And at 16, I was a platoon leader, and we had a 4-day field mission, 3 or 4 days, I've forgotten, every year for when the government inspectors came in. And I was responsible for my crew, my platoon, how many pairs of socks they took, the whole schmear. Back then, you worried about where the horses were going to be as far as the camp was concerned, and you wanted them downstream instead of upstream. That sort of
You,
thing.
you didn't want to be waking up in the morning.
So there was a lot more to it than normal nowadays.
Mhm.
But it was never. I just knew that I was supposed to take care of my people, and I did that the best way I knew how.
Your plane ever get shot up?
We had some battle damage. The nose, we had some considerable flak one day in the nose area. The front end got beat up pretty bad. We had some in the fuselage, but nothing serious. Just little holes, and you could hear it rattling around inside the airplane, but nobody got hurt.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, was there anybody that got hurt on the crew?
No, we were very fortunate. Nobody got a scratch. Of course, we got there in the easy, you could say, in the easy part of the war, if there was an easy part.
I don't know there was an easy part ever
Yeah,
when you look at it.
there were milk runs all along.
What did Rosie say? A milk run is if you return from a mission.
Yeah, yeah, if you get back.
Yeah, from a mission. You had a name for your plane that you ended up naming the plane. How did
Yeah.
you come up with the name?
My navigator conceived it. It was his idea to call it the Super Goose, and we were going to have a big thumb on a fist with an oversized thumb painted on, but I didn't get it soon enough and didn't have time to get the Super Goose painted up.
And did you ever have it painted on any of the jackets? Did any of your guys have it painted on? Or was it just,
No.
you had it in your mind, this is what our artwork was going to be on the plane, but it just
Yeah.
never...
Well,
Yeah.
we were only in the group for what, 3-4 months.
Pretty much.
And-
at
and-
least during combat, you were there about 2 months, just under, 2 months.
Yeah. So and we flew maximum effort damn near every day. And at one point I had 10 missions in 9 days, just short ones across the
Mhm.
channel, but nevertheless we flew about 8 or 9 hours that day. So you'd get back, they'd wake up in the next morning, you'd go strap that sucker to your butt, and away you went again. So
There had to be a point where doing that amount of missions, that amount of days, has to take a toll just physically on you.
oh, no
for the
question, no
oxygen.
question about it. In fact, the last few missions, the flight surgeon stood at the door when we went in the briefing room and gave us a little tube of Benzodrine pills to keep us awake. Because it was pretty tired. And then the Chowhan missions came along, but by that time we had had a chance to get some rest.
Yeah, you did 2 of them, right?
2 of them,
You
yeah.
did May 1st
And
and
the 5th.
Yeah. And those were, when those were brought up to your attention that, guess what, guys, we're gonna drop food instead of bombs. Did it register with you of what the significance of that mission was gonna be? Did it?
Not
or
really.
You're just dropping food, it was
If
another
we
mission?
if we had had a briefing like we got last night from a guy like Hans, I'm sure the feeling, well, there would have been some feeling, but as it was just another chore. I realize now, now that I know the magnitude of the program and all that sort of stuff, it takes on a lot more meaning now than it did then. It was just another chore. And they didn't emphasize anything. We went to briefing and they told us what to do and how to do it, and away we went.
You knew you were flying through a certain zone that the Germans had their flak guns. We're gonna be following you in or tracking you guys in.
They just told us that the Germans wouldn't shoot at us. That's what we knew, and I assumed from that, I guess we all did, I don't know, but I just assumed from that there was a truce.
Right.
And if I had known then what I know now, I'd have been a lot more scared. But it was something we'd always wanted to do, was buzz the treetops. And so we got a chance to do that.
Yes, you did.
And it was a lot of fun. It was a big airplane for that, but still, it was fun to jump the trees. And you did add a little foot or two because you didn't want to get in trouble over there. You knew better than that. We knew the war was still on.
And you didn't want to go outside that zone. Going outside that zone
Yeah,
meant
Well-
those flak guns, they were waiting for somebody to go outside that zone.
yeah, I bet they were. But they were, you could see them. You
When you're
get-
flying, can you actually see the flak batteries looking at you, or
Yeah.
when you're flying through?
Yeah, you could see them, and they were watching us. But it was all just glimpses. We
Mhm.
went by them so fast that you didn't have any reason to be afraid of them, because unless they were waiting for you or set for your
Fire, yeah.
departure, they could fire up your rear end but fortunately they didn't. But they were, I guess, just as hungry as the Dutch. Not that they got any of the food, but I had absolutely no idea of the magnitude of that program. I just knew that the 100th was dropping food for
One
the
of
Dutch.
one of the pawns in this overall big scheme of
Yeah, well,
delivering food.
We had no indication that anybody else was doing it. We just got briefed on how to get there and what the procedure was. And I think that we flew on the deck, and then when we hit a given point, we went up to 300 or 400 feet
Mhm.
and dropped. And then we went back down again, closed Bombay doors, went back down again and flew home.
How many planes, as you were going in, did you see some of the film and that stuff? There's like 3 planes on one area, 3 in the other, but then you have some where there's like 6.
No.
Was it tight, or was it a certain echelon that you had to go in under?
When you're flying right on the deck, you don't look around an awful lot. So no, I didn't ever notice
You were just making sure you didn't go in the ground.
into the trees, because we were jumping trees, the dikes
Yeah.
and whatever, and that was a lot of fun in its own way. It's something that you always want to do, and it's never
Yeah.
legal anyplace else.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Even when you completed your missions, they would buzz the tower, but you weren't supposed to be buzzing the tower
That's right.
and doing that
And
stuff.
sometimes you wouldn't get away with it. Huh.
Did you get any kind of flak leave during the course of your missions? Was there ever a break where you got to London or to Cambridge, Norwich?
Yeah, we got a flag leave, I want to say after 15 missions. That's the best I can remember. And we were allowed to take our airplane and go where we wanted to go, within limits, of course.
Yeah, you take the airplane.
Yeah, I couldn't go home, but we went up to, I want to say we flew into Glasgow and then went out to an R&R hotel at Drimmen, Scotland, right up the road a little ways from Loch Lomond. And spent 4 or 5 days up there, and then went back down and flew back home and flew some more missions.
I'm surprised they let you take your own plane up there
Yeah.
to do it versus take the hack or get the train or do whatever, because we're going to be doing bombing missions and
Yeah.
maximum efforts, and we're going to take one of our combat
All I
planes up.
remember is that we got in our airplane and took off. We
What
went.
was the Fleck House like? The place up there when you got up there?
The what?
When you went up on Flack leave,
Yeah.
what was it like? Was there any one place you stayed up there?
The hotel.
The hotel.
In Drimmen.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was first class. It had been a tourist resort. We went back. I was stationed in England. My last assignment while I was on. See, I was recalled in '51.
Korean
And
War.
my last
Yeah.
duty assignment was England. I was a group commander at Chicksands, RAF Chicksands. And we took our daughter,
That was, he retired in '76.
yeah, we took our daughter on leave one time and went up to
Yeah.
Scotland, whatever, went over and stayed in the same hotel.
That must have been interesting to
It
go
was-
from that point, like, this is where I had our Flack
Well-
leave, and then
Yeah.
you're going to go there with the family.
I guess you know that with Bately, with one of the vendors,
Hmm.
there,
Ron Bailey.
Ron Bately.
Yeah.
When we went up to Thorpe Abbotts, he went out and stood on the runway and
Yeah,
literally,
well,
just literally
That
cried.
was, of course, later. That was
Did-
after.
Well, after, yeah, that was what, about '74.
Did
Yeah.
you ever did you ever take any pictures of your time when you went back to the Thorpe Abbotts or visited
Yeah, in
during
fact, I
74?
gave Ron some today
Really?
we were stationed in England in 72 to 74 or 5.
Yeah.
And we went up there. Of course, that was before they had converted it.
Hmm.
In fact, before they owned it, we had to go see the squire to get permission to go on his property.
Right.
And we trudged around in the mud and whatever. And I took a series of pictures of the tower.
Get any shots of any of the other areas, like the 351st area
I
or
tried to find them.
runways?
I've tried to find them, and in fact, Ron took us around in the car, and we couldn't really tell the difference one from another. And the weeds and the
Yeah.
bushes and
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
whatever
great. It's grown over.
had grown over, so it was hard to locate anything. In fact, I went looking for the spot where I took the picture of the crew, and couldn't even come close. Of course, the trees had what, 35 or 40 years to
Mhm.
grow, so it was impossible to
Yeah.
recognize anything.
The only thing that's there, I think the latrine's still there. They still have the wash areas.
Yeah,
That's in the 351st.
yeah, I saw some of
Saw
that.
that.
I saw some of that, but at the time we were there, the only thing there was that was memorable was the tower.
Yeah.
And
Fire
so-
station, I think, was still there too, off to the side.
Yeah, it was there, but it was a shambles. And then so we took some pictures of the tower in its rare state. Then, after I retired, we had made a lot of friends over there.
Yeah.
I was invited to a whole bunch of cocktail parties and receptions and whatever. And the Brits were real good to us. And so we went back up to to Diss, and stayed at the inn, and we were out of cycle, called Ron, and he and his wife came down and got us and opened the museum. And while we were there, the gate was open, so other people came in. And it was quite an experience because he told these British visitors that I had been a member of the bomb group. Of course, they wanted autographs and pictures and all that
Of
sort of
course.
stuff.
The Brits
The
are real
people up in
big
East
on it.
Anglia were.
They don't forget.
That's right.
No, they
They
don't.
do not forget.
The
That's
Brits are
right.
different than
And
And
Americans.
they
I-
teach their children not to
Yeah.
forget.
I remember remarking to a couple of visitors that we were standing up in the tower, and I could see the depression where they had taken up the concrete where my hard stand was for my airplane, and I was so impressed with the what a volunteer effort of a bunch of kids. I don't remember whether it was Ron or somebody else. He was saying that the thing he remembered about us, he was 8 years old, and when we'd start engines in the morning, it would wake him up. And yet to see what they had done with the tower and making it into a museum. So I mentioned that to these two men, and I said, I just cannot understand how such a group would come together voluntarily and restore this thing like this. And the one guy said, well, the one thing about the British is it's hard for them to say thank you. And I've never forgotten that.
Yeah, Mike Harvey had the vision to
Yeah.
change that tower into
Yeah,
a memorial to the 8th Air Force 100th Bomb Group.
yeah,
Yeah.
At that point, and sat on a dilapidated tower, hay hanging out of it, just sitting there for hours,
yeah,
remembering the 17s going out of there and
yeah,
the different things. You talked to him or little Sammy Hurry and the people that were there at that point in time, and just they would talk about, to them it was like a playground.
yeah,
But they also realized that, their mother was doing laundry in that case, and
Yeah.
they'd go to
Exactly.
deliver laundry, and that person wouldn't be there
Yeah.
anymore.
I
Sunk
remember,
in.
I remember buying eggs from the farmers, and we had a bucket, and we'd cook the eggs, hard boil them,
Mhm.
and we'd get a loaf of bread from the mess hall, and you'd slice the eggs and put them on here, and then you'd put jelly and another piece of bread and have a egg and jelly sandwich.
What would you sum up, looking back on it, how do you sum up your time with the 100th Bomb Group?
The most memorable time I've had in my whole life. And I don't know why I say it that way, because I was there for such a short time. But I guess being shot at is pretty indelible experience. It's the only thing I can say, and you were there with a lot of guys, and you got through it. And that was probably one of my greatest accomplishments, but it was probably the biggest accident of my life.
Did you stay in touch with all your crew members afterwards? Did they-
I did for a while, but then they spread out so far, and we were overseas so much that I'd come back and they had moved. They weren't at this address anymore, and whatever. I did find, of course, my navigator and two of my waist gunners, my ball turret gunner, and the radio operator. And my radio operator we found in California, and he was just short ways from Gene Carpenter, my navigator. So we went out to stay with Gene, and he and I were going to go over and surprise Holly. His wife, we were keeping it a secret from him. And so his wife was really excited about it because he was in ill health, and thought it would help him. And so by the time we got to Sacramento, we got off the airplane ready to suit up and go see Holly. And Gene said his wife had called that he had died. So we were just a bit late. Padua, one of my waist gunners was, no, he was tail gunner, I'm sorry, as best I can remember. And he was down in the town south of Vegas. And Gene and I were going to go down and see him, and his wife said he was too sick to see us. So. The rest of them I just lost track of. I don't know where they are, if they're still alive. Gillespie, I found him, he was a waist gunner, and my toggleier.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, did he serve as a waist gunner stateside, and then when you got to
Yeah.
England?
Yeah.
When you trained, did you train with a bombardier on your crew?
Yes, we did.
What was his name? Because he obviously came off the crew somewhere. Did he come off before you went overseas? Or
Yes, he did.
Do you remember his name,
Smith,
first name?
I don't remember.
Okay.
But we were only together just for that, what, 40 days, 45 days or
Yeah,
something,
pretty
training.
much.
And then he was gone. They took him away from us.
And then how did you make the decision who was going to be your taggleier? What made the decision? You had
Tell you
to-
the truth, I don't know. I really don't know. Only thing I can think of is it was made for us.
Okay.
It could have happened that way. Because I
'Cause
don't.
they were
re-
trained. They had to go for a certain amount of training for,
Okay,
to
so we
do that,
inherited.
so,
We
yeah.
inherited them.
you know, you had him on the crew when you were stateside, but at a certain point, he would have had to been trained to go in there, at least,
Yeah.
you have to toggle your bombs at this point.
Yeah,
'Cause
and
you
to
want-
set the intervalometer setting
Yeah.
and do all that sort of
Yes.
stuff, yeah. All I know is he was trained and he was doing the chore, when we got overseas. It was,
He also provided good, you know, having experience as a waist gunner helped having him on those dual 50s in the front on the chin turret.
yes,
To provide for you.
it was very consoling, because most of the time you're in a formation and you can't use one or the other of the waist guns anyway. So, you know, if you're flying on the right side of the echelon of the box, it's hard to use that left waist gun because you got other people out here. So
You stayed in the military and you retired as what? What was your rank when you retired?
Colonel, 06. I was a group commander at Six Sense. We were an intelligence collection mission, electronics.
Well, that's the story when you applied for regular Air Force.
Oh, well,
I love that
that's
story.
outside the perimeter. So that when I applied for regular Air Force the first time, one of the first questions they asked me was, what can you do for the Air Force besides fly? And I said, well, I thought the airplane is what kept us from being infantry. And they didn't like that. That wasn't the answer they wanted. Of course, at that time, you have to remember that the Air Force was deciding that rated officers had to have a secondary AFSC
Mm-hmm.
for diversity, so that they could do some ground time, I guess. So I was in the electronics intelligence business then for about 25 years, but I flew one way or the other. I flew most of that time. In Tripoli, we were stationed in Tripoli. I flew for the State Department a lot, the Air Force. We drove to Nicosia, Cyprus, and get our visas for wherever they wanted us to go. And they'd load up our airplanes with what they wanted us to carry. And we'd fly in as far as Tehran, all through the Middle East, and Baghdad, and then Athens, Istanbul, Ankara, you know, you name it. That was part of my mission and part of my air mission as well.
Jim, when we were downstairs, you were telling me that you were considering going into business with another pilot.
yeah.
Will you tell us that story real quick?
A fellow named Broyles, Butch Broyles. he was he loved his booze, but he was a damn good pilot. I never flew with him, but I was in the air with him. But we had decided one night over drinks in the club, we had decided that we were going to get together and start a business when the war ended, and we were going to ferry airplanes for owners from where they were to a maintenance facility for their periodic checks, and then fly them back for a fee. I don't know where we came up with the idea or why. It was just liquor talking, I think, more than anything. But as time went by, we would ordain that with new ideas and whatever, but nothing, of course, ever happened. Lost track of him because when we split up at the end of the war, some of the crews went home. I went to Europe. The crews were all split up. I don't know what happened to my enlisted people. I know I was sent down to Munich, Germany, and was there for a couple of 3 months, then went back to Paris and flew with the, what little flying I did, with the European Air Transport Service, EATS.
ATC, okay.
Yeah. And we flew Brussels, Berlin, and back a lot, but we flew routes all over Europe.
Didn't they offer you a job?
Well, we were, my co-pilot, or I guess I was co-pilot, I don't remember. Anyway, the two of us were sitting in the ready room at Orly, and this Frenchman came over and sat down, and we were chatting with him, and he wanted to know what we were going to do. We're going home, we're going to continue to fly, so on. Well, we didn't know. We were just a pair of kids just anxious to go home. So he handed me a card, and he said, if you decide you want to keep flying, get in touch with me. We need pilots. And he was with Air France. And I didn't realize what the opportunity was at the time. That was, nothing ever happened from that either.
If you'd taken that job, we never would have gotten married 6 years
Well, the events, things happen for the best.
Yeah, there's always a reason for something.
Yeah, I went home, all the spaces were full. All the kids in flying school had been released, and they were all over the airlines and all that sort of stuff. So I went back to school. Well, when I got recalled in '51, by that time they were beginning to decide that you had to have a degree to hold a commission. And that's when the ROTC went into the business of primary flying facility. And when they graduated, they're 21 years old, so they can hold a commission. So the fact that I got out and went back to college made me eligible for regular Air Force without ever realizing it. But I could never have made regular unless I had a degree at that time. So everything happens for the best, doesn't it?
Jimmy, thank you so much for your time and to sit down with us and
Hey,
give us some stories and give us some input into things and
Hey,
help us out.
For an old soldier to sit and tell war stories for the afternoon, it's a pleasure.
Sir, thank you for your service and thank you very much for our time.
You know, I
Yeah.
can remember